Okay, hello friends, welcome to BISP Solutions. Myself Ashwin, and BISP Solutions is a tech company that provides technological solutions across the world. Now friends, today is our day 20, and within the last 19 sessions we have come across all these things, right? All these things like UAT and the requirement traceability matrix. These are the main documentation part, that is BRD, FRD, case document and user story, user case and user story, requirement, right, and the UAT and like fit gap analysis, right? So we have we have come through all these things, and now today we are going to see the change request document, right? Now this change request, in this what happens, for example, if we are working on a project, right? Now suppose all the requirements are freezed. Okay, now all the requirements are freezed, and then we felt that there is some changes that needs to be done. So in that case this type of document is used. Okay, now so let's see this. So in one of my sessions, early sessions, I have already I explained you that if any changes is there, then you can do it with the help of change management document or change request document, right? So today we are going to see about CR, that is change request. Now see here, introduction to change request. A change request is a formal proposal for modification to scope, requirements, process or deliverables. Change request can be raised due to missed business requirements, regulatory updates, user feedback during UAT, and system limitations and external system API changes, managed through a change control process. Now see, I will explain you one by one all these things. First of all, change request document is a document or a proposal for modification. Now you might be thinking that when all the requirements are already freezed, then what is the need to change, right? Because they have freezed the document after reading all the BRD. So what is the need for changing the document? Okay, so let me explain you. First of all, a change request is a formal proposal for modification to scope, requirement, process and deliverables. Now change request can be raised due to, now there are some reasons why these change requests are done. For example, missed business requirements. Sometimes what happens, some requirements are missed. In that case, this change request is done. For example, at the time of information gathering, when you were preparing the BRD, now at that point of time some requirements were missed by the stakeholders, so they will request you kindly accommodate this requirement in the BRD. Secondly, regulatory updates. I remember in one of my project when I was working on a builders project, so there is one RERA compliance. Many of you might be knowing about this RERA compliance. This is something related in civil engineering, right? Using when the builders build their buildings, they have to follow some RERA compliances. Now when I was working on that project, it's a software project. So in the middle of the project, when we were working on some modules related to like number of buildings, number of flats, all these things we were working on it. So at that time our boss, at that time he was a civil engineer, so he said that the RERA has made some modifications in their compliance or the regulations, right? So kindly make this update. Now this thing was included in the change request. Now when we have freezed the BRD, at that time there was no such changes, but halfway, when we come up to the halfway of the project, at that time they received some modifications in RERA compliances. So definitely the boss will say that okay, please accommodate. Now neither they are wrong from their side, neither we are wrong from our side. We have freezed the documentation, we have taken the sign off. but what they can do when the new changes are there. So that is why regulatory updates, missed business requirement is a different thing, regulatory updates is a different thing. Now user feedback during UAT. Now see what happens many times in the same project, same builders project. I found that for example, when we were conducting the UAT, so one of their civil engineer, they said that we don't need this type of format for the amount calculation of the flat. See, I am just giving you an example. Same thing I will give you with the this NetSuite implementation also. Okay. So at the time of UAT, the civil engineers, they raised some queries that this type of format is not acceptable by the users. Kindly change the format. So again, that is also one type of change request. Similarly, now come to the NetSuite. Now in this NetSuite, what happens? Suppose if a furniture selling company, I am working for a furniture selling company and I am implementing a NetSuite end to end. Now some missed requirements might be there. Yeah, one sales rep came and he says that okay, this requirement was missed. Okay, regulatory updates. Suppose the tax slab, or we can say the tax related some changes are done by the government. So definitely the stakeholder will raise this change, that is called regulatory updates. User feedback during UAT. While UAT, suppose I am preparing the sales order. Now at the time of sales order, suppose the user, the sales rep felt that okay, one more memo is required in this form, sales order form, for WMS employees. So this is also a change requirement. Then the system limitations. Now system limitation, there might be some system limitations also, right? So in this way, now for example, if system limitation means, for example, if you have deployed NetSuite and one person is working in an area where there is a frequent connectivity issue. So what he will say, okay, let's do one thing, give me one sales order template also. In the daytime, I will just fill that sales order template Excel sheet, and till evening 6 p.m. I will upload that Excel sheet in the NetSuite. I will put that somewhere in the folder of the NetSuite, and automatically at 7 p.m. the NetSuite will pick that data. That is also one option. External system API changes. Now external system API changes, many times it happens that there is some changes in API. The API that you are using, for example, if you are using RESTlet, then not to worry, but if you are using any third party application for connectivity between the NetSuite and the legacy system, in that case there might be some changes. So that is why we have to prepare this change request, and this change request can be raised at any point of time during the project implementation, right? So that's the change request. Change request may or may not be necessary. It's totally depends on the project, what type of project that you are doing. Okay, now manage through a change request control to avoid the chaos. Okay, now let's see when and why are CRs raised. Okay, now see, during any project phase, BRD, UAT, post go live. Okay, now here you will see, if during any project phase, BRD, UAT, post go live. Now in this, the reasons are, if there is a change in the scope or if something they do not want, then we see here the configuration mistake. If any configuration is done wrongly, for example, they said that apply this 10% to this particular item when it is sold, and if the configuration is done in a wrong way, in that case, client side process change. Now client side process change, suppose previously the client was doing like directly creation of purchase order, but now the client has decided, okay, we will raise first requisition and then it will be converted into purchase order. Now make modification in requisition also. That is one thing. Third party tool integration need. Now again one thing, suppose if a company that is using Python application for the last few years, now they want that Python should not be retired, we want it to be connected with NetSuite. Again this is third party tool integration need. Delays in stakeholders approval. Many times what happens, suppose if you start working on any project, right, you have got maximum stakeholders approval, and suppose if there is any delay in any of the stakeholder approval, again the same thing, we have to make some little changes. Now let me explain you that suppose whatever the changes, that is fine, because when you are there to help the client, you can't say no to anyone. So the change request document is prepared, again the sign off is taken, then again the procedure is almost the same. Now every CR impacts the timeline. Now see, when they give you the changes, definitely you have to stop the current task and you have to deploy your one of your developer or the consultant on that particular task, right? So definitely it impacts the timeline, because he has to stop his task and he has to work on that, because that is most priority one. Then costing. Now costing, why costing? Because every time, suppose we have decided to complete it by like December 2025. Now due to this change request documentation, what happens, we exceed the timeline also, and we exceed the timeline, that means it will finish like February 2026. Now February 2026 means the billing, 2 months billing will also go to the client, right? Because everything depends on the costing and timeline. So if the timeline increases, the costing will also increase. After that, resources. Now suppose if there is one requirement in which like one designer is to be hired, suppose at the time of BRD or the discovery call, if the time at the time of the discovery call, suppose they have not raised any question related to designing of the output of the printout of the like invoice printout, they said okay, but later on they said okay, no, we need the printout something like this. So at that time we have to deploy one designer also, that will take care of HTML pages and all these things. So the resources costing also include. Then testing. So definitely it will impact the testing also, because previously whatever you have written the test case, now you have to again rewrite the test case scenario, test case script also, because that will impact that also. And the documentation, of course, the documentation, again you have to make changes in the BRD also, right? In the BRD also you have to mention everything, and you have to put the narration also, that when this requirement received and all these things, so that everything will be crystal clear. So these type of things, they consume time, they consume cost, resource, testing efforts, documentation efforts. So that is why the best policy is to just first spend 1 month extra on information gathering, so it will save you much time and efforts. If you spend 2 months in information gathering, it will save the 5 to 6 months delay in future, right? So that is why always the correct practice is always spend sufficient time on information gathering and then analysis. Okay, now see here, structure of change request document, key fields to include. Now first of all, you need to understand exactly the structure means. Actually it's a Excel sheet only, right? You have to create an Excel sheet, and in that Excel sheet you have to mention all these. Now what should I mention? Now see, if you don't know the template also, still you can do it by your own experience also. For example, change request ID is required, then what is the title, right? Then who has raised this change request, Okay, on what date this change is requested, what is the description of it, and why you have demanded this change, reason for change, and which requirement ID is related to this change. You have to mention that also. That means the change should be relevant, not just like anything says anything. So you have to show that requirement also, which requirement ID is changed here. Then priority, high, medium and low. You have to put the priority also. Suppose if you are asking me to make this change in our application, now I will set the priority also. Is it very high or level or low or medium? Then the status, whether I have opened it or not, because many times, suppose if I remember one of my project, we were working on a project, so they demanded some changes, but those changes were not like, they are just like someone is habitual of like a specific font, right? So that is what they wanted. So it's a very low priority task. Then status, so we have not opened, we have just taken up, right? And then approver, who needs to sign off, who has approved it. Because suppose if I write the change management requirement or change request document, now in that change request document, what I need to do, I have to put the person who has requested the change, right? I have to put that the name of that person, that who has requested this change, and I have to take the sign off of that person also. I will prepare one separate MS Word document. I will note down all the requirement or all the changes, and then I will take the sign off from that person, and then I will put it in the SharePoint and share that link with all. So that is called approver, who has approved and who has given that request. Impact summary linked to next section, impact analysis. Okay, what will be the impact analysis now? So these are the impacts, exactly what the change request document is. Today we have seen what is the change request document, then we have seen that how it is created. Look at this first. What is this? When it is created, at what time it can be raised? It can be raised anytime during the project. Why RC is raised? Okay, CR raised. Then you will see here the date when CR is raised. Okay, so you have to put down everything in that Excel sheet first. What is the impact? Now let's see. Now what is an impact analysis? Now impact analysis means what changes that you have done, what changes has been raised, and when you will accept those changes, okay, we will do this, then you have to show them that what will be the impact. Now definition: a systematic evaluation of the implication of the requested changes on scope, modules, data, cost, timeline, team competence, team capacity, right? So these are the factors, right? For example, if you whatever you have made the changes or the requested changes are there, so you have to show that what are the impact. Impact analysis includes affected NetSuite modules or workflow, right? So you have to do the impact also. For example, I have written the request on my document, then I have to put in the document that what will be the impact of this change on the modules or the workflow. Because what happens, many times it happens that if the front person is asking you to do something, now it is your duty to explain him exactly what it will impact on. right? So now you have to explain him, sir, that's your requirements is like too much lengthy and it will impact the timeline or it will impact the costing also. So you have to explain him everything. So impact analysis includes affected NetSuite model and workflow modules and workflow, custom scripts or suite flow impacted. Now see, when you ask something to make change, so definitely the scripts and the workflow applied on any project module, so they will also be impacted. They will also be impacted. So for example, uh, let's take an example that I have written a workflow for a purchase order. In that workflow of a purchase order, in a workflow of that purchase order, what I have done, I have written everything as it is. Now in the middle of the project, the client says that okay, one customer is there. For that particular customer, the workflow will be will not put any effect on that particular customer. Now again I have to open the workflow and make and put the condition, right, and put the condition. For example, like I have prepared a workflow on purchase order, like if the it's a approval workflow. Suppose I have written that if it is less than 10,000, then no approval is needed, and in the middle of the project the stakeholder asks me to make changes. If it is below than 10,000, sorry 5,000, in that case only no approval needed. That means change in the range of the amount. So definitely I have to open that particular workflow and then I have to make changes in that. I have to change the condition in that. So it will impact on the workflow also, and also it will impact on the script also, because I have seen in my project that when there were two developers working on project and both the developers are in remote position, remote location. So in that case what happens, suppose if I make some changes and I never know what changes he has done in the same client event script, so that will impact, right, additional configuration. So that is why here custom script and suite flow impacted. Okay, additional configurations or role needed. Now suppose in the middle of the project, if the stakeholder ask me that okay, do one thing, allow developer also to edit the sales order. Now this is totally a new requirement. Now in that case I have to create one additional role also, and I have to create one additional sales order form also, right? So I have to do all these things. So that is why this type of changes, they make impact. Okay, so that's the change request impact. Now additional configuration or roles are needed, right? Now need for updated. Now again test cases needs to be updated. Then the user training. Suppose I have scheduled a meeting to educate the user, right? Just give me a second. Okay, so I have scheduled a meeting to educate the user. Now in that case, suppose if any change is done, now again I have to postpone and reschedule the training. Why? Because I have to make changes in the document also, that previously the process was something like this. Now your stakeholder has changed something and now the process is something different. So in that case I have to prepare one more document, not more, I have to modify the same existing document. So again I have to reschedule the trainings meeting. And finally the BRD, FRD, these are the documentation. That means at every point of time, suppose if any slight changes is also there, all the list of documents will be impacted, right? your requirement will be fulfilled, no doubt, but it takes a little time also. Okay, so this is how change request document is done. Now let's move ahead here. Now see structure and impact analysis document. Now structure and impact analysis document, what it is? Now see here, change request structure of an impact analysis document. Now see, normally the standard practice is like you have prepared a change management document, then one more document will be prepared that what changes are required, again one more document is required here, what changes are, then the third document impact analysis, what is the impact of your changes done on each module. So there are n number of documents, so that is why it is recommended that every person, whether he is a technical person or a functional person, he should know how to write the documentation, because this documentation is always required on every phase, right? So let's look at this structure of an impact analysis document suggested template. Now see here, this is the suggested template. I am showing you the, these are the headers, okay, and headers of the Excel sheet. Okay, now see here, area affected and description. Now suppose if you are working on a change, right? For example, previously I have developed the purchase order module such a way that only directly purchase order can be created, but now the client says that okay, first requisition will be created and then the same requisition can be converted, and this is the form of the requisition and all these things. Now what happens? First of all, we will write down the functional impact. Functional impact. Now functional impact means business logic, process changes. For example, suppose if you have demanded a requirement that is related to business logic, now it will definitely impact on business logic and process change, right? So process change will also be there. Then the second is technical impact. Technical impact like scripts, API, data migration. Suppose it is very easy to say that okay, I am just asking to increase one field only. What's the issue in that? The client stakeholder will talk something like this if you deny, if you say that we will not entertain any changes. He will say like this only, I have made only one changes, but that one change will impact on the script also. If any script is written related to purchase order form and then you have suggested the change in the purchase order only, so in that case definitely there are some scripts, if possible, if there are some scripts related to purchase order, they will definitely impact. The API will also impact, the data migration, field change, all these things will be impacted. Okay, now configuration impact. Configuration impact means same thing, form configuration, workflow fields, as I suggest to you, as I told you just 5 minutes back, that whatever you have suggested, it will impact directly on the form, directly on the flow, right? Form customization, all these things. So it will directly impact on your configuration impact. Then the testing impact. What are the testing impact? new test cases, retesting efforts, right? I remember in one of my project what happens, due to some technical issue, we were validating the data and it was not validating properly. So what they have done, testing impact, retesting, they just asked the offshore team to do it again. That means the retest, the testing efforts should be applied again. So we had to work on it, and late nights we started validating the data using Excel sheet and the pivot table. So we have done like this way, right? So that is why testing impacts are also there. It's a retesting efforts, right? Multiple efforts. Then you will see user impact, the user impact. Now in this user impact, you will see the roles, the permissions, whatever you are asking. For example, if in the middle of the project, if you say that okay, some specific people should not be able to create the sales order, so in that case, for some specific users. Okay, so retesting efforts. Then user impact, you have to create the roles, permissions, training updates, everything. Okay. Timeline impact, additional days, week needed. Yeah, I have already told you, additional days and weeks needed. Okay, so timeline impact will also be there, additional days, weeks will be needed. And the cost impact, costing. So the costing impact will also be there, right? Any extra billing or efforts required. Then the risk assessment. Now the risk assessment will also be there. Any risk introduced by change. Suppose if you have demanded some changes, but it should not impact the other modules. Okay, so risk assessment, any risk introduced by change. And then the recommendations. Recommendation means whatever the recommendation, right? Proceed, needs clarification, and reject. Many times what happens, if someone has given you the task and you don't understand the task, so definitely you will ask for recommendation, like please explain one more time, or whatever the form is asking to do, same thing can be implemented. All these things can be asked with the stakeholders. Okay, now let's move ahead. Now BA role in CR, change request and impact analysis. Definitely you everyone wants to know that what is the BA requirement. Now see here, gather change request from stakeholders. First of all, see, business analyst is not a developer. He is the bridge between the client and the developers. Okay. Now gathering the say CR, right, and impact analysis. Now gather CR from stakeholders, document and assign CR ID. First of all, the business analyst first role is to gather CR from stakeholder. Then you will see document and assign the CR, every CR an ID. Now analyze. Business plus technical impacts, update BRD, FRD, test cases. Yes, you have to do that also. Then organize a review meeting with project manager, tech lead and client side approvers. Now see, it's very simple. I am giving you one simple example. If you are communicating with your friend or any client. And if someone interrupts you, in that case what you will do, you will just do the task that you are doing and then you will entertain the other, right? Organize a review meeting with project manager, tech lead and client side approval. And then ensure approval sign off between execution. Okay. Then ensure approval sign off between execution. Yes. Now you have to do the sign off also. See, all these points I have already explained you, that first collect the information, then assign every CR an ID, and then put the impact of that changes on the other module. What will be the changes majorly will take place. All these things will be discussed. Now ensure approval sign off before execution, and then maintain version control in documentation. Yeah, version control is required. Now let's, okay. Now see here summary. Let's talk about the summary part. CR, formal request for changes in project scope and functionality. CR is just, change request is just a change request, right? It's a request, formal request. Okay, now second point, must include description, reason, impact, priority. See, that is what I was telling you. Description, what you said, what is the description of that, why you are asking me to change, what will be the impact, and whatever you are saying, whether it is a P1 task or not. So this is what the must include. That means, see, simple. This is the moral of the story of this complete session, is that whatever you are asking me to do, first give me the definition or description. After that I will ask you what's the reason. Okay, what is the description, and then what is the reason behind this, then what will be the impact of your changes will be visible on other project or the other task. Okay, then this is called must in. Description, whatever you are asking me to do, give me the description and why you are requiring to change the some changes, then what the impact will be thrown by that change, and then the priority, whether your task is really P1 task or not. Then PAs play a central role in documenting and validating CR. Yes, this is what the BA business analyst task. Okay, they will first document each and everything. And then tools, Excel, Word, Jira, Confluence, NetSuite case management for post go live, everything, there are so many tools, right? It is not mandatory for everyone to use like Jira or the Excel sheet, right? Okay, so for this, see, change request, let's have a quick recap first. Quick recap. Change request is a document when the stakeholder asks you to make some changes in it. Now what happens, I will communicate with him, okay, in the lunchtime we will discuss on it. So first of all, I will take the definition or the description of the changes you want. What is the reason, why do you want to make changes, and what will be the impact, what are the reasons that is different, what will be the impact, suppose whatever you are asking me to do, and how it will impact on sales order calculation or in purchase order project calculation, whatever. Okay, then impact, and after that priorities. I will take each and everything from you and then I will put the priority. Okay, so validating the CR, and there are so many what we say, the priority, whether it's a P1 task or what. So in this way, today we have seen the change request document, right? Change request. What is a change request? How it is prepared? When it is raised? What things are included in this change request document, right? And what things are there in the analysis document. For example, I have taken your requirement, but I found that something, it will consume more time. Then I will just ask my team leader and then they will make some arrangements, right? After that you will see the BA role and CR in impact analysis. After that, summary. Okay, the BA role in CR and impact analysis. So everything must be documented, and here also everything is documented very well. Okay, and then we see summary also. Now in this summary, we, whatever the points we have discussed, only that points are written here. Formal request for change in project, right? It's a request. Okay, then must include description, reason, impact and priority, and impact analysis, functional, technical. Okay, functional, technical. Now there are so many tools that you can use it. Okay, so guys, this was all about the change request. Okay, and I suggest you to watch this video, watch this session again, so that you will get complete clarity on it, right? Because documentation is not an easy task. Okay, so those who have attended our this session, today's session, for the very first time, I suggest you to uh, click on subscribe button and also like, share the video, right? So guys, today we will stop here, and tomorrow we will cover some new topic. Live workshop, create a full BA document, business analysis document set on a case study. Okay, so tomorrow we will see some new topics. Okay, okay guys, thank you for attending the webinar. Thank you.